First, reminders. You did quiz number 4 last time. If there's anybody here who has not yet done it and needs to do a makeup, please see me after class. You have until Thursday to get that makeup done. 2, there is an exercise that you should be thinking about doing. Everybody should do it. It's on poverty. I've explained it. It's also, the prompt is on Blackboard. So please make sure you're keeping up with that. What I said last time was that the due date technically is the Tuesday before we go on Thanksgiving break, which I would like to get. But I will accept them as late as the Tuesday when we come back from Thanksgiving break. But no guarantee you'll know how many points you got on that by the time, except for the time of the final. The reason why that's important is some of you, and I'm going to read names about this in just a second, need to get a certain number of points on that second paper in order to be able to skip the final. So I would like to get it on that Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I'll accept it the Tuesday after without any penalty, except you won't know your grade. And then finally, quiz number 5. Your last quiz is coming up a week from this Thursday. Please bring your books a week from today. Now remember, you don't have to do any particular one of those. There's a whole bunch I've listed. You're going to do 3 of them. One has to be a star, which means they actually have to interview somebody. So a teacher's okay, but you can interview a homeless person, a police officer, a friend of your family, you know, that kind of stuff. Okay, any questions about that stuff? No? Okay, cool. All right, so here's that confusing printout going around. The first column shouldn't be that confusing. That's just your quiz grade from last time. I'll say, actually, I was kind of surprised. That quiz grade looked actually like the best so far. I think the average in all the classes was about an 80%. And I had at least one perfect score in this class, and never picked a perfect score in the other class. So no curve on that one. Good news, bad news, but most people don't need the curve. Because the scores were quite high this time around. So congratulations, good for you guys. That doesn't mean everybody got a high score. If you are still struggling, boy, since the last date to drop was last Friday, you better talk to me, because it doesn't look good. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read the names of people who had their first paper in. There's some of you who are currently average in A and with no quiz score being dropped. That's that column going around. Take a look at the column that says no drop average, or average no drop. What that means is, remember, I said that I will drop your lowest quiz score. But for some of you, you're in a great position that that score I drop could be your last one. So frankly, you could skip quiz number 5. Everyone follow that? Any questions on that part? I drop your lowest quiz score, but some of you have a high enough average right now without anything being dropped that you could still get your A. Is that clear? If you did that first paper, now what you have to do to skip the final is get a certain number of points. So look at that average, see if you like that average. If you do, I'm about to read the names of everybody in this class who are capable of skipping the final if they like that average, and I'll tell you how many points you need to get on that last paper to get your average. I mean, I'm not going to say particularly the average, because it could be a C, a B, an A, or whatever it is. But if you like that average in that column, you are now able to skip quiz 5. And if I read your name, you did the first paper, and I'll tell you how many points you need to get on that paper in order to skip the final. In other words, some of you could get 1 point on a paper. Frankly, you could probably right there at your desk over the course of the next 45 minutes and get at least 1 point for that, and you got your A. However, I will require anybody who is in that great position to continue to attend class. If you miss more than one class between now and the end of the semester without an excuse, if you're sick or mandatory travel or something like that, then you have to take the final. Okay, is all that stuff clear before I start reading? Anybody with any questions about what the hell I'm talking about? Nobody confused? Okay, so let me just read the names of the people who basically did that last paper. And I will tell you how many points you need to get on that last paper to skip the final. Okay, Francis, there you are. 1 point. 1 point. Juan Becerra, 1 point. Carolyn Bugman, 1 point. Atul, 1 point. Jeff, 1 point. I see sad situations with students averaging an A and they didn't do the first paper. Remember, I got a couple of people, I say, oh my God, look at, you're averaging an A without anything being dropped, but you didn't do the first paper. Go, and remember, I'm still accepting the first paper until the day before Thanksgiving. Go and do it. Get 1 frigging point on it. Get 5 on the final one, and then you can skip the final. Okay, Charlie Nocetta. Charlie, 1 point. Marcella Owens. Marcella, 1 point. Charney Pinfloor. Yeah, 1 point. You give away points and still. Okay, Yuritsa Perez. Yuritsa, 2 points. Alind Peramari, 2 points. Kyra Placencia, 1 point. Gonzalez Rosado, Watkins Wallace, 1 point. Brianna Wood, 1 point. Margaret Yakao, Margaret. Richard Zettel Herutz, 1 point. Okay. All right, so any questions on what I just read? So, remember, some of you are actually at that place where even though I read your name, I saw a couple that you're averaging like 88%. That means you're averaging a B. You probably need to get more points than I read. All I did was to read the number of points that would allow you to skip the final. Some of you will need more points than that to get that A. If you're averaging like 88%, and I read your name and said only 1 point, no, you need to get at least 2 or 3 points on that last paper in order to skip the final with an A. Oh, is there anybody else here who I have not yet spoken to you about your grade, gone over your grade with you, and you want to? So everybody's pretty well up to snuff. Yeah, talk to me after class then. I'll let class go about 5 minutes early, so you have a chance to talk to me about your grade. Yeah, it's the same thing. Take a couple minutes to go over grades with people and talk about what your alternatives are. All right, so that's the real reminders for the day. Any questions about any of that stuff? Any concerns? Okay, can somebody get the light so we can see this a little better? Please. I don't think the skylight is working. Loud enough to try. That helps a little bit. Okay, let me just go over the stuff we covered during the last lecture. Granted, most of what we did last time was the quiz. All right, so we're done with all the stuff on interactional sociology. We know about it being micro, sociology of everyday life, the accusation of it being trivial. The response of Garfinkel to that was breaching, father of ethnomethodology. Kinds of stuff interactionists study: body distance, eye contact. They tend to actually study weird things like elevators. Then we talked about sociolinguistics. That's looking at how people use language strategically, interactionally, socially, with things like conversation acknowledgement, shift versus support, who speaks next. And then we talked about Erving Goffman's theory of dramaturgy and the interactional self, his book Presentation of Self, but then also about total institution, the total institution. Okay, all that was covered last time. Anybody need to hear any of that re-explained, gone into more depth? Yeah. I did talk about that in this class, right? No? Didn't talk about total institution in this class? Oh, I did in the other class. Okay. I don't know. All right. Well, let me go back to Howard. Okay. Remember, for Goffman, we are our roles. The props, our cars, the homes, the costumes we wear, all that dramaturgical self, all that interactional self is really who we are. Goffman takes you guys seriously. You're sitting in this room and you will spend the rest of your life getting that fancy house with that great address in La Jolla. You'll spend a ridiculous amount of money on a piece of transportation. You could have spent 1/10 of that so that everybody knows you got that cool car. All of that is our interactional self. For Goffman, being a lawyer, a minister, a man of the cloth, a doctor, a mother, a father, these are the roles that really stick to us and become part of who we are. In that sense, he's agreeing with Cooley. Now, Goffman also has written a number of books, one of which was looking at asylums, mental hospitals. Goffman studies it as an interactionist with. Doesn't do an experiment, no survey. He gets himself a job working in a large state mental hospital back in the 1950s. And what he saw scared the poo-poo out of him. What he saw was an institution in which people lived their lives 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they could not leave. And they were not there voluntarily. What was it like to become part of a mental hospital? It's to lose virtually everything about your interactional self that you consider important. You walked in the door as a mother, a father, a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a man or a woman of God. But now you're just one of the crazies. Goffman wrote another book called Stigma. He was fascinated by stigmatized roles that you did not choose, but that would stick to you and follow you wherever you went. And there's no more stigmatized role than being labeled. Remember the importance of the label. Now, whole discussions about labeling theory. Than being labeled crazy. From here on out, people will never take you seriously the way they did before. You were a minister. Sorry. That's okay. Please turn it